Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into something super practical and powerful, especially if you're working in real estate. We're going to break down how you can automate client prospecting for a real estate agency, specifically focusing on identifying and qualifying potential property management clients. Yeah, we're talking about using automation tools like n8n, AI, LinkedIn data, and more to build a smart, self-running lead generation machine. So if you're a real estate professional, a property manager, or even just a tech-savvy agency owner, you're going to love this. Let's jump right in. All right, picture this. You run a real estate agency that offers property management services. You want to find investors or property owners who actually need your service. But scrolling through LinkedIn, cold emailing, and managing spreadsheets by hand? That just doesn't scale. What if, instead, you had a workflow that automatically found promising companies, scored them using AI, and dropped only the high-value leads into your CRM, all while you sip your coffee? Well, that's exactly what this system does. We'll start with how the whole thing gets triggered. There are two main ways. First, you can trigger it manually through a webhook. That means, whenever you want to kick things off, you just make a quick request to your endpoint, something like /start property investor search, and boom, it starts working. Second, and this is even cooler, you can schedule it. Yeah, just set it up to run every day. So it's out there, searching for new opportunities automatically while you focus on what matters most, closing deals. Now, once it's triggered, the workflow reads from what we call a workflow settings section. This is where you centralize key configurations. You set things like, who gets the notification emails? What score counts as high value? And the URL of your Google Sheet CRM where all the leads get stored. Having all the settings in one place makes it super easy to update stuff. No digging through 20 nodes to change one email address. And if anything breaks, don't worry. There's an error handler that'll shoot an email to your team with the details, so you're never left in the dark. All right, once that's all set, the real magic begins. The workflow moves into lead generation mode. It starts by searching LinkedIn. But we're not just blindly grabbing any company. We use the Ghost Genius API to laser focus on property investment companies. Why them? Because these are the folks who actually own the properties and likely need help managing them. We focus on companies with employee sizes between 11 and 200. Why? Because they're big enough to own a good number of properties, but not so big that they already have an in-house team. Sweet spot. We also filter by industry, real estate, investment management, financial services, you get the idea. Basically, we want to catch companies that likely hold assets but may not have full operations for managing them. And to avoid overloading the system or breaching API limits, we paginate up to 5 pages, usually about 50 companies per search. That's enough too. One by one, the workflow digs into each company's profile and runs a quick qualification test. Think of it like a digital bouncer at the club door. We check. Do they have a website? Do they have at least 100 LinkedIn followers? Does their company description even mention property? If they pass all those, they move to the next stage. If not, they're skipped. Simple. This makes sure we're not wasting time on irrelevant or shady companies. Oh, and here's something neat. We also check if the company already exists in your CRM. That way you avoid duplicates, because following up twice on the same lead? Not cool. And to be API friendly, the process is throttled with a 2-second delay between each request. Smart, right? Yep. We run each qualified company through an AI model to get a score. This isn't some random number. The AI looks at factors like how many properties they likely own, their potential revenue from management services, the wording in their descriptions, their employee count, and more. The result? You get a score from 1 to 10. Plus, you get reasoning behind the score. Stuff like owns multiple commercial properties in Texas, no in-house team visible, likely to need management. Now that's the kind of intel that helps your sales team prioritize. All of that info, the name, score, location, estimated properties, revenue potential, reasoning, summary, links, it gets logged into a CRM. And by CRM, I mean a Google Sheet. And if a company scores above your threshold, like say 8 or higher, the system sends an instant email to your sales team. You can even hook it up to Slack. So your team sees something like Hot Lead Alert. Bluestone Ventures scored 9 out of 10. Estimated 22 properties. Revenue potential 15K/month. That's how you stay ahead of the competition. Now let's talk about setting this up for your own business. Here's the simple checklist. First, sign up for Ghost Genius API. That's how we access company data from LinkedIn. Once you've got your API key, configure your n8n HTTP nodes to include it as a header. Second, create your CRM Google Sheet. Use columns like ID, name, score, state, estimated properties, revenue, reasoning, LinkedIn, website. You get the idea. This gives structure to your data and makes it super readable. Third, set up your OpenAI API key. That's what powers the lead scoring and reasoning logic. Just plug it into the relevant node in your n8n workflow. Fourth, update the set variables node. This is where you define stuff like your target customer, maybe commercial property owners in Miami, and other preferences. Now the cool thing? This whole workflow is customizable. Let me give you a few ways you can tweak it. Number 1, you can target different property types. Maybe you want residential instead of commercial. No problem, just change the targeting keyword. Number 2, you can narrow your geography. Looking to grow only in Austin? Just update the location ID. Number 3, company size. You can go after small investors, large funds, or even institutional owners depending on your goals. Number 4, scoring logic. Want to emphasize revenue potential over number of properties? Adjust the AI prompt. Number 5, alerts. You can route hot leads into Slack, Microsoft Teams, Discord, or even send SMS. Basically, you can shape this workflow into the exact prospecting machine you want. So, let's step back for a second. Why does this matter? Because traditional prospecting is slow. It's reactive. You're waiting for someone to fill out a form or respond to an ad. But with this system, you're proactive. You're identifying the right companies before they even know they need you. And when they do get that call or email from you, it feels perfectly timed. Because it is. Let me give you a quick example. Say you're managing properties in Southern California. You set the workflow to target real estate investment companies in Los Angeles with 50 to 200 employees. You run it daily. On day 1, it finds 12 potential companies. 7 are filtered out, but 5 pass. 2 of those score over 8. Your sales rep gets a Slack ping with all the info. They follow up, reference the company's public assets, offer tailored services, and boom, you've got a warm conversation with a real potential client. Let me explain how this works, step by step, in a natural way. So first up, we've got a webhook trigger. This means whenever you, or some external system, hits this webhook URL, the workflow will kick off instantly. You can even wire this to a front-end app or a button on your dashboard that says, "Find new property investors." Then we've got a schedule trigger too. Why? Because you might want this automation to run every day at 9 a.m. automatically. You can think of this as your morning coffee assistant, but for fresh leads. Next up, we've got a merge node. This is where we bring together both triggers, the webhook and the scheduled one, into one unified stream. Whether you want this manually or automatically triggered, the flow continues from here. Now comes the cool part, the set variables node. This is where we define everything that makes up your ideal client profile. So let's talk through what's being set here. First, we define the target. In this case, it's property investment. We're telling the system, hey, we're looking for companies focused on investing in property. Then we narrow it down by company size. We're going after mid-sized businesses. Specifically, those with around 11 to 200 employees. Why? Because companies this size are just big enough to be managing real estate, but probably small enough to still need outside help. Next, we define location. We use a location ID, a number that matches a specific region inside Sales Navigator. You can find this location ID easily through a tool called Ghost Genius. So if you're targeting London or Sydney or Toronto, you just plug in the ID. Then, we clarify what we're actually offering. In this example, it's our full-service property management solution. Nice and simple. But here's where it gets really clever. We also add positive indicators. These are signs that a company might actually need what we're selling. If they mention owning multiple properties, or talk about tenant issues, or mention they're expanding their real estate portfolio, these are green flags for us. If we spot them, it's a high potential lead. And on the flip side, we've also got negative indicators, things that tell us, maybe not worth our time. If the company already has a well-established property management team, or if they only do commercial real estate, but we focus on residential, or if they're a super new company, less than 6 months old, that's not our sweet spot. We even define primary industries we want to target, like real estate, property management, and investment firms. That way, the search is laser-focused. Now that all these smart variables are set, we move on to the search companies node. This sends a request to the Ghost Genius API, which is kind of like a turbocharged search engine for B2B leads. It takes all the filters we just defined, target, size, location, industry, and runs a deep search. Oh, and it supports pagination too, which means if there are tons of results, it can automatically go through them, one page at a time. And we set a maximum of 5 requests with a 2-second delay just to stay API friendly. Once the data comes back, we go into extract company data. This splits out the results into individual company entries. So instead of dealing with one massive list, we can handle each company separately, one by one, which is great if we want to do further checks or send them to email, CRM, or Zapier later. Then comes the node called Process Each Company. This one's like the bouncer at the club. It controls how many companies get through at once. We're using a feature called Split in Batches, and right now, it's set to process one company at a time, with a 2-second delay between each. That's great for throttling API requests. We don't want to flood a third-party service, or worse, get blocked. Now, for each company that makes it through, we hit an HTTP request node. This one's labeled Get Company Info. What's happening here is, we're sending a GET request to an API. In this case, the Ghost Genius API, which probably gives us detailed company information based on their URL. We're passing in the company's website as a query parameter, like, "Hey Ghost Genius, tell me everything you know about this URL." Now, this response could be super rich. Could have the website, follower count, description, and more. But not every company is worth chasing, right? So next, we hit this beautiful filter node, Filter Valid Companies. And this is where things start getting clever. We're filtering companies based on 3 conditions. First, the company must have a website. If it's missing or empty, we skip it. Second, the company must have more than 100 followers. We're setting the bar just high enough to weed out those barely active profiles. And third, the company description must include the word property. That's probably because we only care about property-related businesses. Maybe we're building a CRM just for real estate. Makes sense. So, only if a company passes all 3 of these filters, we move forward. Now comes another check. We don't want to add the same company to our CRM more than once. So we ask, does this company already exist? To figure that out, we use Google Sheets. There's a node called Check If Company Exists, and it's connected to a Google Sheet that acts like our company database. We search that sheet, probably by ID, to see if this company is already listed. If it's there, we skip it. If not, we hit the next decision point. Is new company? This if node checks whether the response from the Google Sheet was empty. If it's empty, it means the company doesn't exist in our records. And boom, now we know it's a new company, and we can choose to take further actions. For example, we might want to add the new company to our Google Sheet, or send it into a CRM, or even kick off a personalized outreach workflow. So what's the big picture here? Let's say you've got a virtual assistant or a sales automation process, and you wanted to intelligently sort through potential leads. This workflow helps you. Check a company's credibility. Make sure it's relevant to your niche. Avoid duplicates. And only move forward with companies that actually matter. Then our workflow next step kicks in with this special AI node called AI Lead Scoring. Now this is where the magic starts. We're passing 2 messages to GPT for point 1. The first one sets the stage. It's kind of like saying, "Hey AI, here's your job. Evaluate this company and tell us how likely they are to want our product. Score them from 0 to 10 and explain why, but do it based on 5 specific things. So what are those 5 things? 1. Portfolio size. Do they own enough properties to need a tool like ours? Think of a small-time landlord with 2 houses, probably not a fit. But a company with hundreds of units? Now we're talking. 2. Growth stage. Is the company expanding fast? Because if they are, they're probably overwhelmed and need help scaling. That's where we might fit in perfectly. 3. Pain points. Does their description hint at problems we can solve? For example, are they struggling with operations? With tenant management? With maintenance coordination? 4. Location alignment. Are they based in places where we operate? No point chasing leads in cities we don't cover, right? And 5. Company size. We want the sweet spot. Big enough that they need help, but not so big they've already built an internal system. Now the cool part? We feed in 2 types of indicators. 1. Positive indicators. These are signs that scream perfect fit. Like, they mention rapid growth, they're in our service area, or they say they're overwhelmed with maintenance. Then, we feed in negative indicators too. Maybe they only manage a few units, or maybe they offer their own property management. Or worse, they say we don't need help. That's a no-go. Once GPT-4 processes all of that, it replies in a tight little JSON. Inside that, we get a score from 0 to 10, a reason why the score was given, an estimate of how many properties they might manage, and a revenue projection, like how much we could make monthly from this client. It's like having a super smart assistant that reads company profiles and instantly tells you, yeah, talk to this one, skip that one, this one looks promising. Now, after the AI does its thing, we wait 2 seconds, just to give the system a breather before the next step. That's the wait twos node. It's kind of like a buffer, helps everything stay smooth. Then, we push all of that info straight into a Google Sheet. And this sheet? That's our CRM, a living list of leads. We save the company's name, their website, their LinkedIn, that AI score, how many employees they have, where they're located, how much revenue we could make from them, even the AI's explanation for why they got the score they did. And guess what? We even tag them with new lead status so your sales team knows this is hot and fresh. Let me give you a real-life example. Let's say we're analyzing a company called Urban Growth Partners. They manage 200 rental units in Los Angeles. They recently raised $3 million in series of funding. They mention needing better maintenance systems. So here's what would happen. The AI looks at this and says, they're growing, they're in our region, they've got a decent portfolio size. And they're clearly facing pain points we solve. So it might give them a score of 9 out of 10. It estimates they manage about 200 properties. And based on our pricing, that could be around $6,000 a month in revenue. Boom, lead goes straight to the CRM. Sales can pick it up the same day. Now imagine doing this manually for every company. You'd be reading pages of data, guessing scores, manually copying things into a spreadsheet. But with this setup, it's all done in seconds, automatically, accurately, and at scale. This is what it looks like when AI meets automation. It's not just cool, it's powerful. And if you're running any kind of outbound, this is how you win faster and smarter. All right, see you in the next breakdown. Also, if you're finding this workflow helpful and want to keep it for reference, you can download the n8n workflow JSON file. Just check the link in the description below. It's completely free and designed to help you automate your real estate agency client prospecting step by step. Click the link, save it, and start optimizing your workflow today. And hey, don't forget to hit like button if this really helped.